We don't lose our dreams because we're incapable. We don't forget our goals because they didn't matter. More often than not, we drift away from them simply because we're surrounded by noise, constant, endless, overwhelming noise. It's everywhere. The distractions that seem so small, so harmless at first, begin to pull at us gently, almost imperceptibly, until one day we wake up and realize we are far from where we intended to go. Not because we failed, not because we weren't good enough, but because we allowed the noise to drown out the voice that mattered most, our own. When you first started, whether it was a business, a fitness journey, a personal mission, anything, there was a moment of pure clarity. You didn't begin by accident. You weren't confused or unsure about what you wanted. In fact, in that beginning, everything felt aligned. The excitement was real, the drive was strong, the vision was crystal clear. But over time, life layered itself onto that clarity. The endless to-do lists, the comparison to others, the pressure to meet expectations, the fear of not being enough. These things didn't arrive all at once. They crept in quietly, subtly. They disguised themselves as necessary parts of the journey. And without even realizing it, many of us shifted our gaze from what we were building to everything else happening around us. This is what noise does. It doesn't come shouting at us in the streets. It doesn't announce its arrival with a grand gesture. It sneaks into our pockets through the endless scroll of social media. It fills our minds during sleepless nights of self-doubt. It finds a home in every unnecessary opinion, every fleeting comparison, every shallow validation we chase. And slowly, the voice that once told us, this matters, this is why you're here, gets quieter, not because it's gone, but because we've stopped listening. It's easy to mistake distraction for failure. When we feel ourselves slowing down, when motivation feels harder to summon, we're quick to assume something is wrong with us. We tell ourselves we must not have wanted it enough. We must not be capable enough. Maybe we were foolish to think we could do something meaningful. But what if the real problem isn't capability? What if the real problem is attention? What if you're not broken, you're just buried under layers of distraction that were never supposed to be there in the first place? But it's important to remember that our ability to stay connected to our purpose is not a reflection of strength or weakness. It's a reflection of how much intentionality we bring to what we let into our lives. The human brain wasn't designed to manage the amount of stimulation, information, and demands we face every day. We evolved to focus deeply on a few important things, not to juggle 100 meaningless ones. If you feel lost, if you feel off course, I want you to understand this. You're not lost because you're incapable. You're not stuck because you're weak. You're just distracted. And distraction is something you can overcome. You can choose to turn down the noise. You can choose to protect your attention the way you would protect your most valuable asset, because that's what it is. Think back to when you first started. Think back to the version of you who was willing to step into the unknown, to risk failure, to endure discomfort for the sake of something bigger. That version of you didn't need to be motivated by a dozen voices outside of yourself. You didn't need constant reassurance from the world. What you needed, and what you still need, is to stay connected to your why. And that connection doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. It's easy to say yes to every invitation, every opportunity, every demand for your time. It's easy because it feels like progress. But real progress is not measured by how busy you are. It's measured by how closely your daily actions align with your original purpose. If you say yes to everything, you're not actually moving forward, you're just moving around. And there's a difference. Every time you allow a distraction to steal your attention, you're not just losing time, you're giving away a piece of your focus, your energy, your clarity. These are not infinite resources. They must be guarded carefully, because the world will always ask for more than you have to give. If you don't set boundaries, the noise will set them for you. The good news is, the moment you recognize the noise for what it is, you gain power over it. You don't have to fix everything overnight. You don't have to know exactly how to get back on track. You just have to start listening again. Listening to the part of you that remembers why you began. The part that wasn't seeking applause. The part that wasn't looking over your shoulder. The part that was willing to begin before anyone else believed it was possible. You have not lost your way. You've just been overwhelmed by a world that profits from your distraction. But you can unplug from that noise. You can create space again. You can simplify. You can say no to good things in order to say yes to the best thing. It won't be easy. It will feel uncomfortable at first. It always does. But clarity doesn't scream for your attention. It waits quietly for you to find it. Purpose doesn't demand a spotlight. It shines steadily from within. So if today you feel far from where you started, don't beat yourself up. Don't quit. Don't assume the dream is dead. Instead, turn down the noise. Tune back in. The voice that mattered most, the one that set you on this path, is still there, waiting, whispering. Remember why you started. Then choose today to start again. Distraction is not just a simple inconvenience. It's the most dangerous enemy of purpose. It doesn't come at you in big, obvious ways. It chips away at you slowly, taking one small piece of your focus at a time until you look up and realize you've built a life filled with activity but empty of meaning. Every time you say yes to a distraction, you are unintentionally saying no to your dream. It's not about being busy. Anyone can be busy. It's about being intentional with what you choose to give your energy, your time, your mind, and your heart. We live in a world that glorifies hustle and rewards multitasking. We're told that doing more is better, faster is smarter, and busier means more successful. But deep down, we know that's not true. Deep down, we feel the difference between a day spent chasing distractions and a day spent moving with purpose. One leaves us drained and hollow, the other leaves us tired but deeply fulfilled. The difference is not how hard we worked. The difference is what we worked for. Distraction isn't just about your phone buzzing or your inbox filling up. It's about anything that pulls you away from what matters most. It can be fear disguised as practicality. It can be comparison disguised as ambition. It can even be opportunities that sound exciting but have nothing to do with your real mission. Every yes, even to good things, carries a cost. When you commit your limited time and energy to something that isn't aligned with your dream, you are by definition taking it away from the things that are. The math is simple, but the emotions are complicated. Because saying no to distractions often means disappointing others. It means facing the fear of missing out. It means choosing depth over breadth in a world that constantly urges you to do the opposite. When you first started out, your dream was clear because you hadn't yet made 1,000 tiny compromises. You hadn't yet accepted the meetings you didn't need to attend, scrolled through the updates you didn't need to see, agreed to the projects that didn't fit your mission. In the beginning, your energy was focused, pure, direct. That's why you made progress. That's why you felt alive. But slowly, without noticing, we all start to drift. We answer one more email. We agree to one more side project. We say yes when we should say no. And we tell ourselves, it's just this once, just for now, just until things settle down. But things never settle down. If you don't choose your focus, the world will choose it for you. And the world's agenda is never your dream. It's their dream, their needs, their goals, their deadlines. That's not selfishness, it's just reality. Everyone is fighting for their own priorities. If you don't fight for yours, who will? Every yes to distraction is a no to discipline. Every yes to convenience is a no to excellence. Every yes to what's urgent but unimportant is a no to what's important but not urgent. The kind of work that actually builds something lasting. The kind of work that requires deep focus, long patience, and the courage to stay the course, even when the results are slow to appear. We don't drift away from our dreams in dramatic moments of crisis. We drift in the slow, quiet decision to get a little bit busier, a little bit less intentional, a little bit more reactive. We don't fall all at once. We fall by inches. We don't quit our dreams in a single day. We quit them a tiny piece at a time. Every time we let distraction win, the most successful people are not the ones who never get distracted. They're the ones who recognize distractions for what they are and refuse to let them sit in the driver's seat. They build systems to protect their focus. They say no a lot. They choose boredom over busyness if it means staying aligned with their mission. They understand that Doing less, but doing it with full attention beats doing more with a scattered mind every single time. It's tempting to believe that we'll get back on track later, that after this season, after this project, after this crisis, we'll finally have the clarity and space to focus. But clarity isn't something you find later. Clarity is something you fight for now, in the midst of the noise, in the middle of the chaos, in the ordinary, messy moments of everyday life. Purpose doesn't announce itself in a grand moment of inspiration. It emerges when you choose over and over again to prioritize it above the distractions fighting for your attention. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more time. You don't need a perfect plan. You need to start treating your dream like it's worth protecting. Because it is. It's worth disappointing some people. It's worth missing out on some trends. It's worth being misunderstood by those who don't see what you're building. Not everyone will understand why you're so protective of your time. Not everyone will understand why you don't say yes to everything. That's okay. They don't need to understand. You're not building their dream. You're building yours. Imagine your life a year from now. Imagine your life 5 years from now. If you keep saying yes to distractions, where will you end up? Will you be closer to what you wanted to build, or will you have spent another year circling the noise, moving but not arriving, busy but not fulfilled? Now imagine the alternative. Imagine what it would feel like to say no to the wrong things so you could say yes to the right things. Imagine the deep satisfaction of knowing you stayed true to what mattered most. The future you want won't happen by accident. It will be built brick by brick, decision by decision, moment by moment, by the small, brave choices you make today. Choices to be intentional, choices to protect your attention, choices to honor your dream even when the world offers you 1,000 easier, faster, shinier options. Every yes to distraction is a no to your dream. Every no to distraction is a yes to your purpose. Choose wisely. The reason you started hasn't disappeared. It hasn't expired. It hasn't somehow become less important just because the journey got harder. It's still there, waiting for you to remember it, waiting for you to pay attention again. It's easy to think that because life got messy, because the path got complicated, maybe your original reason wasn't strong enough. But the truth is, the noise around you got louder. Your purpose didn't get weaker. It just got buried under the weight of everything you didn't ask for, but still had to deal with. When you started, you weren't looking for perfection. You were fueled by something real. Maybe it was a dream you couldn't shake. Maybe it was a need you saw and couldn't ignore. Maybe it was a calling you felt deep down, even if you couldn't explain it fully. Whatever it was, it pulled you forward. It made you brave. It made you take risks. It made you care enough to begin. And beginning is no small thing. Beginning means you believed, at least for a moment, that what you wanted to create, who you wanted to become, mattered enough to try. But over time, that belief gets tested, not because you were wrong, but because that's what happens when you step into the world and start building something meaningful. Resistance shows up, doubt shows up, setbacks show up, people misunderstand you, some support you, some don't. And slowly, if you're not careful, the reason you started gets crowded out by the reasons you should stop. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens little by little. You miss one workout. You postpone one conversation. You delay one decision. You lose one small battle against procrastination. And you tell yourself it's fine. It's not a big deal. You'll get back on track tomorrow. But distraction isn't just an external thing. It's also an internal drift. A slow forgetting of why you cared so much in the first place. That's why it's not enough to just have a purpose. You have to protect it. You have to return to it. You have to reconnect with it over and over again. Because the world is full of reasons to quit and very few reminders to stay. If you wait until you feel inspired again, you might wait forever. But if you choose to remember, if you choose to sit quietly with yourself and ask, why did I begin? You will find that the fire is still there. Maybe dimmer, maybe smaller, but it's not out. It's never really out. The reason you started matters because it was rooted in something authentic. It was born out of your hopes, your experiences, your values. That didn't go away just because circumstances change. If anything, it becomes even more valuable when things get hard because when the motivation fades, and it will, What carries you forward is not hype, not applause, not momentum, it's meaning. It's the deep, quiet conviction that what you are doing matters, even if no one else sees it yet. Sometimes we chase new goals because we think we need new dreams, but most of the time we don't need a new dream. We need to remember the old one. We need to dust it off, look at it again with fresh eyes, and realize that it still fits. We just grew tired, not wrong. The fatigue of the journey is not a sign that the dream was a mistake. It's a sign that you're walking a real path, not a fantasy. Real paths have uphill climbs. Real dreams have heavy days. Real missions have moments where you wonder if it's worth it. It is, but only if you choose to remember. You can build habits, you can learn strategies, you can find hacks to stay productive. But none of those things matter if you forget why you are doing it in the first place. The how only matters if the why stays alive. Otherwise, you're just running faster in the wrong direction. The simplest and most powerful thing you can do when you feel lost, overwhelmed, or distracted is to pause and ask yourself, why did I start? What was the vision that lit me up? Who was I trying to help? What impact was I hoping to make? How did I want to feel when I looked back on this season of my life? Those answers are not random. They are the truest parts of you. They are the parts that chose courage over comfort. They are the parts that dared to believe you could be a force for good in a noisy, distracted world. You don't need more inspiration, you need more remembrance. You need more intentional moments of coming back to yourself, back to your foundation, back to the place where it all began. Maybe you started because you wanted to change your family's story. Maybe you started because you saw a problem no one else was fixing. Maybe you started because you were tired of playing small, tired of pretending you didn't care. Whatever it was, it still matters. It didn't lose value just because the journey became less exciting and more exhausting. In fact, the fact that you're tired, the fact that you're worn down is proof that you've been fighting for something that matters. It's easy to coast when you're not invested. It's easy to give up when you don't care. But the people who keep going, the people who eventually build something that lasts, are not the ones who never struggled. They are the ones who remembered why the struggle was worth it. You started for a reason. That reason was enough to move you once, it's enough to move you again. You don't need to start over, you need to start remembering. The world doesn't need another person chasing trends, it needs more people chasing purpose. It needs more people willing to stay connected to the original fire that started it all. The reason you started is still here, it's still speaking. You just have to get quiet enough to hear it again. You already have what you need. Now remember why you started and choose to start again. We tend to think that progress comes from big leaps, that the major changes, the major wins happen when we somehow summon extraordinary energy or passion. But the truth is, real progress, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from sudden bursts of motivation. It comes from small, steady steps rooted in clarity. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right thing next. Again and again, especially on the days when motivation feels far away. Motivation is emotional. It's unpredictable. It's based on how you feel. And feelings are unreliable guides for building anything meaningful. You can feel motivated today and discouraged tomorrow. You can feel energized one minute and exhausted the next. If you depend on motivation to carry you, you'll build your journey on sand. It will shift every time the winds change. But if you build your journey on clarity about who you are, what you want, and why it matters, then you create a foundation that doesn't crumble when the excitement fades. Small steps are powerful because they don't rely on emotion, they rely on commitment. They don't ask you how you feel before moving forward. They simply ask you to show up, to take one more action, however small, that aligns with your purpose. And it's in those small actions, repeated over time, that momentum is born. Momentum doesn't start with a lightning bolt of inspiration. It starts when you choose to take a single, imperfect step toward what matters most. Not because you feel like it, but because you decided to honor the vision you committed to when you first started. We overestimate what we can accomplish in a day and underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. Because we think in terms of instant results, we get frustrated when we don't see immediate payoff. But small, consistent steps compounded over time create outcomes that seem almost magical in hindsight. What feels invisible in the moment, that one difficult conversation, that extra hour of work, that small daily habit, becomes transformational over weeks, months, and years. It's not glamorous, it's not dramatic, but that's where the real change happens. Imagine a person trying to move a heavy flywheel, a huge weighted disc of steel. At first, every push feels almost meaningless. The flywheel barely budges, but they keep pushing. And eventually something subtle happens. The wheel starts to move. Slowly at first, then faster, and soon it's spinning with a momentum all its own. That's what happens when you commit to small steps fueled by clarity instead of chasing after the next rush of motivation. You build a kind of energy that carries you even on the hard days. The reason small steps matter so much is that they're sustainable. Anyone can sprint for a short while, but the race that matters most is a marathon. And marathons are won not by bursts of speed, but by steady, relentless progress in the right direction. The people who reach the end are not necessarily the fastest, they are the ones who refuse to stop. Clarity allows you to keep moving even when progress feels invisible. It reminds you that just because you can't see the results yet, doesn't mean they aren't happening. It reminds you that growth is happening below the surface long before it becomes visible above it. Just like roots growing underground before a tree ever breaks through the soil, much of your progress will happen in unseen ways long before the world notices. There will be days when you question if it's working, days when you wonder if it's worth it, days when you're tempted to quit, to chase a shortcut, to abandon the slow, faithful work of building something real. On those days, you don't need more motivation. You need to remember your clarity. You need to trust the process. You need to take the next small step. One small decision to show up today. One small conversation you were tempted to avoid. One small improvement to your craft. One small act of courage. One more time choosing discipline over distraction. These things are not small. They are everything. They are the bricks that build dreams. They are the stitches that hold a life of meaning together. When you act from clarity, every small step you take is connected to a bigger picture. You're not just busy, you're purposeful. You're not just reacting to what's urgent, you're investing in what's important. That distinction changes everything. So it separates a life filled with regret from a life filled with impact. If you wait for motivation, you'll spend most of your time waiting. But if you live from clarity, you'll spend your time building habits. Building relationships, building trust, building momentum. And momentum, once it's built, becomes a force that works in your favor. It makes the next step easier. And the next one after that, it creates its own energy. But momentum isn't a gift you're handed. It's something you earn, one choice at a time. When you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're discouraged, ask yourself a simple question. What's the next right step? Not the perfect step, not the final step, just the next one. Then take it. And then another and another. That's how you get there. That's how anything worth doing has ever been done. The people who change the world are not the ones who were constantly motivated. They're the ones who had clarity about what mattered most and took small, deliberate steps toward it every day, even when it wasn't easy, even when no one was watching, even when it felt like nothing was happening. Small steps rooted in clarity build a kind of momentum that motivation can never match. They build strength, they build character, they build legacies. You don't have to do everything today, you just have to do the next right thing and then keep doing it. You already know why you started. Now trust yourself enough to take the next small step again and again until one day you look up and realize you've become exactly who you were always meant to be. The future you dream of is not built by chance, it's built by design. It's built by remembering every single day why you started and making choices that are consistent with that beginning. Too often we treat our goals like wishes, as if by merely wanting something badly enough, it will find a way to show up in our lives. But the truth is, the life you want is asking something of you right now. It's asking for your focus. It's asking for your discipline. It's asking for you to stop being distracted and start being deliberate. Every choice you make either brings you closer to the future you want or pulls you further away. There is no neutral ground. Each small decision matters. The temptation is to believe that the small moments don't add up, that skipping one practice, one meeting, one promise to yourself won't really matter. But the future is written not in bold, sweeping gestures, but in these tiny, invisible choices. They are seeds planted in the soil of every day. One by one, they determine the harvest you eventually reap. You have to understand something. Success doesn't just happen. Neither does failure. Both are slow processes. Both are daily, silent accumulations of decisions made with or without intention. Every day, every action is either a deposit into the future you want or a debt you will owe to the future you were too distracted to build. You already know this deep down. You feel it every time you fall into distraction. Great. And that small twinge of guilt, that's not shame. That's your conscience reminding you that you are built for more, that you are capable of better. It's your original reason calling you back, and it will keep calling, it will keep whispering that the future you dream of is still possible if only you will stop chasing the noise and start honoring your purpose. You're all tempted to look for shortcuts. It's human. We want the result without the grind. We want the reward without the sacrifice. But there are no shortcuts to places worth going. There are no hacks for meaning. The work matters because you are becoming someone in the process of doing it. The discipline, the focus, the refusal to quit. These are not just the price of admission. They are the point. Because success without character collapses. Achievement without growth rots. Only the kind of success that's built on daily integrity, the choice to honor your reason for starting, stands the test of time. It's hard, though. There's no denying that. It's hard to stay locked in when distractions are louder and easier than ever before. It's hard to say no to the 1,000 good things competing for your attention so that you can say yes to the one thing that actually matters. It's hard to delay gratification to invest in a future that no one else can see yet. It's hard to keep working when the rewards are slow, when the recognition doesn't come, when the setbacks stack up. But hard does not mean impossible. Hard simply means worthy. The people who build futures worth living in are the ones who choose the hard road of consistency over the easy road of excuses. They are the ones who understand that dreams are not just imagined, they are engineered, brick by brick, day by day, choice by choice. Every time you choose to focus when you could have distracted yourself, you are building the muscles that the future you will need. Every time you keep a promise to yourself when no one else would have known you broke it, you are stacking the invisible wins that will eventually create visible results. Every time you refuse to forget why you started, even when it would be easier to quit, you are proving to yourself that you are trustworthy, that you are dependable, that you are capable of carrying the weight of your own dream. And here's the beautiful thing. The more you live like this, the easier it gets. Not because the work gets lighter, but because you get stronger. Focus becomes a habit. Discipline becomes a reflex. Remembering your purpose becomes second nature. You begin to crave alignment more than distraction. You begin to recognize how cheap the temporary rush of procrastination feels compared to the deep satisfaction of knowing you stayed true. You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to change your relationship to the daily choices you make. You need to start asking yourself, honestly, bravely, is this helping me build the future I said I wanted? And if it's not, you need to have the courage to choose differently. Again and again, the future isn't somewhere you arrive by accident. It's something you choose piece by piece, moment by moment. It's the result of 1,000 micro decisions when no one else is watching. It's the quiet victory of choosing to focus today so that the version of you who wakes up 5 years from now is proud, not regretful. You started this journey for a reason. You saw something better. You believed something more was possible. That version of you, the one who dared to begin, is counting on the version of you who wakes up today to keep building. Don't let them down. Don't let distractions rob you of a future that is still possible. Don't sell out for the comfort of now when you could own the fulfillment of later. You have everything it takes. The question is not if you are capable. The question is if you are willing. Willing to protect your focus, willing to honor your beginnings, willing to build instead of drift, willing to make the daily sacrifices that few see, but that everyone eventually notices. Your future is still waiting, it's still being written. But you hold the pen. Stop letting distractions ghostwrite your story. Pick up the pen. Write something worth reading. Build something worth remembering. Live a story worth telling. And do it starting today, right now. One choice, one step, one day at a time.